There are so many great stories in this event. Thousands of runners who each have their own reason for participating in the marathon. We're going to share one of those with you now. Julie Drury is a woman who recently lost her daughter to a very rare illness, and she and a group of runners are participating in this event to raise money as part of Team Mito Canada. Let's learn more about that story now.
Resilience and determination are traits that come naturally to Julie Drury. With a feisty competitive spirit, she excelled at multiple sports, including gymnastics, soccer, and basketball. Later, once she settled in Ottawa, she became a star ultimate player.
Ultimate Frisbee, incredible sport. I became very good at it, got to play at a very high level. I considered myself a very dynamic, strong athlete, burst of speed, burst of power. Could never imagine getting into distance running. I used to think that people who ran marathons were crazy.
With competitive sports and burgeoning careers a priority, the notion of raising a family might have seemed crazy too. But by 2007, Julie and her husband Brian were welcoming their second child, Kate, into the world.
She was a beautiful little girl, beautiful baby, and really no issues. And we could never have anticipated the life we had with Kate when she was born. There was absolutely no cause to have any concerns about her health or her future.
Despite her beauty and vivacious personality, Julie and Brian soon noticed something wasn't quite right. Kate had difficulty hearing, experienced violent bouts of nausea, and showed signs of developmental delay. After multiple visits to the Children's Hospital, doctors remained perplexed until a group of international specialists diagnosed Kate with a rare form of mitochondrial disease called SIFD.
If your mitochondria aren't functioning, your cell can't survive because it doesn't have the energy to survive, so it dies. If you have a lot of cellular death in a particular area, so a major organ or a major system, like your heart, your kidney, your liver, your brain, that take up a lot of energy, you get damage to those areas.
Kate's medical episodes were intertwined with periods of stability where, despite her challenges, Kate won countless hearts and friends with her infectious smile and insatiable sense of adventure. She loved the park, playing in the water, and tobogganing with her big brother, Jack.
Jack loved, so one of his favorite things to do with his sister was take her over to Nepean High School in the field. This is in the winter. He'd sit her on a toboggan, put the rope around his waist, and he'd run as fast as he could. And she would laugh her head off, and he'd turn a corner really quickly and flip the toboggan. She'd go flying, which I didn't think was probably the most fun thing for her, but she loved it. She laughed. She thought it was the most hilarious thing. They do that almost every evening in the winter.
Through the joys, there were many, many hardships, as Kate's condition was degenerative and her symptoms worsened over time. Kate was suffering, and her parents pressed doctors for answers. Then, after years of frustration, leading mitochondrial experts suggest a bone marrow transplant with 10-year-old brother Jack as a donor might help Kate replenish her immune system.
And one of the things that drew us to the transplant was that we had a perfect sibling match for Kate, which in bone marrow transplant is kind of the holy grail. You want a perfect sibling match. It reduces the risk of rejection, it reduces the risk of any complications. It's much safer for the transplant.
The decision was a difficult one. The family declined at first, worried at the enormous risks since marrow transplant had only been done successfully in a few SIFD patients, and of course the impact on young Jack.
And it was a simple conversation at bedtime. I was laying in bed with him and I explained to him what it was. And I said, "What do you think?" He said, "Yep. If Kate needs it, I'm okay with it."
Initially, the post-surgery prognosis was positive, but before long there were complications as Kate's body began to reject the foreign bone marrow. 9 months later, little Kate Drury, who spent her entire life fighting to be well, simply couldn't fight any longer. Kate
went to sleep at about 8 o'clock that night. And again, we thought we had time, right? We thought if we didn't do any intervention with this child, we were told weeks, maybe a couple months with her. And she went to sleep at 8 o'clock that night and she never woke up.
Over the course of Kate's illness, Julie put her career on hold and had to abandon team sports. Somewhere along the line, friends convinced her to take up running, an activity that could accommodate Julie's competitive spirit and erratic schedule.
We started running early in the morning, at 5:30, 6 a.m. in the morning, a few days a week. Had a little running group, 2 or 3 girls in the neighborhood. They are incredible. And these women would show up at my door. If my porch light was on, they knew that I was up and good to go. If my porch light was off, they knew I'd either had a rough night with Kate or Kate was sick and I wasn't able to go. But the rallying point was my house, and it actually still is to this day. We rally at my house in the morning. That's where everyone meets for the run. And so I started running.
Having competed the Boston Marathon just 6 weeks ago, Julie is here in Ottawa today, towing the line for Team Mito as they endeavor to raise $42,000 for mitochondrial research.
We have over 100 people signed up right now, and some are families who also have children who are affected by mitochondrial disease as well. And all the money that we're raising this year is staying here in Ottawa. It's going to CHEO, to the Research Institute, to study mitochondrial disease further. And there's a lot of work going on already at CHEO, so we're hoping to support that research even more.
For Julie Drury and her team, today's marathon honors an incredible legacy that Kate leaves behind. It will also honor the strength, tenacity, and will to fight like a girl, traits that bind this mother and daughter in very special ways.
Running for me is a form of escapism. For me, I liked the pain of running. My daughter went through a lot, more than anyone could imagine in terms of pain and suffering. And I liked feeling that. I felt connected. I felt like my legs hurt, my lungs hurt, this sucks so bad. And like, Kate would think this is nothing. Kate would just be like, I got it, I can do this. I felt connected to her when I distance ran.